Welcome to another non sequitur news for August 11th, 2024, Season 3, Episode 224. Today we're going to be talking about brain foe to friend, hunting speed cheats, accessibility technology at the Olympics, mapping marathon heat, lost bronze medal, Disney announcements, streaming for over 200 hours without sleep, what Google rival wants, and unbreakable drinking glasses, and finally, upcoming animated movies. I am Mayor Watt, and that is the visualizer for the Sentient AI from the future.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens. Welcome to Non Sequitur News.
Alrighty, folks. Everything is powered by ohmTown.com. Be sure to like and subscribe and follow and ring the bell and go over to the Discord and be sure to log in to ohmTown.com. And so many things. But liking and subscribing is kind of a key ingredient to our success. So that would be awesome if you were to go. Why does it say 8-1? The title is wrong. It's 8-11. Hold on a second. Gotta do it.
Must have been trying to get in the time machine.
I have to do it live. Gotta do it now. Anyway, there we go. Well, it's already broken, but that's okay. Everything's powered by ohmTown.com. All right. Let's go. The first article that we're going to talk about is over in the mobile channel. I need to pause something real quick. What? It says that it's playing, but it's paused, but it's actually playing. I don't know. Hello over on ohmTown, over on YouTube. If you want to say anything, feel free. Let's go. A common parasite could deliver drugs to the brain, and this is talking about Toxoplasma gondii, something that we've actually been afraid of pretty much since anybody's ever heard of Toxoplasma gondii. It's a parasite, takes an enormous toll on human and veterinary health, but researchers have found a way for patients with brain disorders and a common brain parasite to become frenemies. Yeah.
Bad.
This is some bad bat stuff, yeah. Bill Sullivan over at The Conversation put the article together, but it's published at phys.org. That right there is the Toxoplasma gondii.
It doesn't look too terrifying in the photo, but I don't know.
It looks like it wants to be a smiley face.
Yeah, it actually kind of looks pretty innocuous, but yeah. I suspect that's kind of deceiving.
So be my friend. If you want to get all of today's show notes for this episode of Non Sequitur News, you just hit !NSN over on Twitch. The bot doesn't attach to YouTube, but we post the show notes over there after the show is done in a separate video because the live stream is derpy too. Anyway, so parasites, that's what this is. A new study in Nature Microbiology has pioneered the use of a single-celled parasite called Toxoplasma gondii to inject therapeutic proteins into brain cells. The brain is very picky about what it lets in, including many drugs, which limits treatment options for neurological conditions. So, as a professor of microbiology, the author, Bill Sullivan, I suppose, they've dedicated their career to finding ways to kill dangerous parasites such as Toxoplasma. They're fascinated by the prospect. So, ever since scientists utilized the microscopic organisms can cause illnesses, what's called the 19th century germ theory of disease, humanity has been on a quest to keep infectious agents out of our bodies.
You know what? That scares me. We're working on 19th century theories with infectious diseases, but maybe that's when we learn some of the key stuff and we're just working from that.
Yeah, we stand on the shoulders of giants, so to speak. So I'm not surprised that we're, looking back at stuff and figuring out a new way of using something old because it was kind of incorrectly utilized. It happens. Sorry, I was just checking something else out. So it
some
says,
of the details in here are a little too detailed.
Yeah, I can imagine. As early as the 1500s, people in the Middle East and Asia noted that those lucky enough to survive smallpox never got infected again. These observations led to the practice of purposefully exposing an uninfected person. In some places, this was actually used during the war. I think it was World War I and the Civil War, where people were intentionally infected so that they built up an immunity, and then the enemy fell prey to it because they didn't practice that same procedure. It's quite fascinating when you look at the history of it. But so why can't we just take a pill for brain diseases? It's because there's a brain-blood barrier, and it won't be absorbed into the brain. Certain things will make it across, but they're not typically therapeutic. They're usually pretty dangerous.
Exactly. It's like most of the things that are strong enough to go across are not things you want crossing.
That's right. So Toxoplasma offers a delivery service to brain cells. Toxoplasma parasites infect all animals, including humans. Infection can occur in multiple ways, including ingesting spores released in the poo of infected cats, which is why you want cats to stay away from pregnant women, or consuming contaminated meat or water. Toxoplasmosis in otherwise healthy people produces only mild symptoms, but can be serious if immunocompromised, and to gestating fetuses, which is why I just said what I said. So you kind of
it wasn't a non sequitur.
Yeah. I could make it one, I suppose. Now, unlike most pathogens, Toxoplasma can cross the brain-blood barrier and invade brain cells. So once inside neurons, the parasite releases a suite of proteins that alter gene expression in its host, which may be a factor in the behavioral changes it causes in infected animals and people. Like they tend to drink a lot and seek high places or something like that. I can't remember all of the things that they go through. Or they're intentionally risky. Like a cat that has toxoplasmosis will go seek a threat out to be consumed by it, and thus...
Oh, wow. Like it's a predator or something?
Yep. So a genetic deficiency in MECP2 causes a rare brain development disorder called Rett syndrome. Gene therapy trials using viruses to deliver the MECP2 protein to treat Rett syndrome is underway. If Toxoplasma can deliver a form of MECP2 protein into brain cells, it may provide another option to treat this currently incurable condition. It's interesting. So it says, however, up to 1/3 of people worldwide currently carry Toxoplasma in their brain, apparently without incident.
Are we sure about that?
Yeah. Just kidding. I shouldn't joke. Emerging studies have correlated infection with increased risk of schizophrenia, rage disorder, recklessness, hinting that this quiet infection may be predisposing some people to serious neurological problems.
So, yeah, I mean, that was my comment, was kind of offhand, but that was really where it was going, because there could be other things that are actually attributed to this and nobody knows to test for it.
Yep. In fact, there's a history of that basically in modern medicine, well, in medicine in general, and society, that a person who's doing this, that, or the other must be insane or have some other conscious decision that they've been making. But it may be something a little bit more, I don't know, parasite-y, I guess you could say. Something else going on. We just don't look. And it's really expensive to hunt this down because you don't know really where to look, when to look, how to look. So there you go, folks. Toxoplasma gondii, from foe into friend. Let's keep moving.
I still have the sense of like it mutating or something. I mean, but I do think this is a fascinating study, and if they can utilize this for good, all for it.
Yep, go for it. So the next article is over in Reality Hacker, the hacker who hunts video game speedrunning cheaters Alan Dwango AC, has made it his mission to expose speedrunning phonies. At the DEF CON Hacker Conference, he'll challenge one record that stood for 15 years. So this is the person. At the DEF CON Hacker Conference, he'll challenge one record that stood for 15 years. There's a photograph. So if you're listening to the podcast, you might as well go watch the video too. So speedrunning video games, a competitive field of playing through digital games as quickly as possible, has in recent years been elevated into something between a virtuosic form of fingers and thumb athletics and highly technical science. The best speedruns reduce epic games meant to take dozens of hours into single-digit minutes through a combination of exploiting glitch-enabled shortcuts and inhuman skill. A little too inhuman in some cases. So, in a talk, before I get too far, this is over at wired.com by Andy Greenberg. I won't go through the entire video. It's just not what we do here, but we do talk a little bit about what it is. At a hacker conference in Las Vegas. This is what, a week ago? Yeah. Yesterday. So yesterday at a hacker conference called DEF CON in Las Vegas, the details of which Wired reviewed in advance, Cecil plans to present what he alleges is evidence that a speedrunning record in 1996 PC game Diablo, which has stood for more than 15 years and holds a spot in the Guinness Book of World Records, was in fact the result of rule-breaking techniques that should disqualify it. And if Cecil and the team of investigators who worked with him over the recent months succeed at tearing down the seemingly untouchable benchmark, it will be the third such high-profile speedrun that he'd helped debunk.
This is a very niche area.
Yeah, and this must be like side hobby-ish kind of stuff, right? Because
can this be his main job?
I don't see how it's even remotely possible. So let's see here. As a staff member of the tool-assisted speedrun website tazvideos.org and an organizer of many epic speedrunning feats, such as one that famously used coding glitches in the Zelda game Ocarina of Time to rewrite the game's ending, Cecil has become a fixture in the speedrunning world. He's also a creator of TazBot, a robot that connects to the controller ports of video game consoles to reproduce controller inputs so that recorded speedruns can be replayed and verified on original gaming hardware, a spectacle that gamers love so much that live streams featuring the robot have raised $1.5 million in donations to charitable causes, according to Cecil's account.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's more over at this article, and the article is quite long form. It's pretty typical for Wired. But in a nutshell, the Diablo speedrun is so short that apparently they don't believe that it could have been done without something that breaks the rules.
Right, and it doesn't look like they went out of their way to go find this. It looks like as they were working with Diablo, they realized this, and then I think they've been investigating it.
Yeah, Cecil says his suspicions that Mazalewski had broken speedrunning rules were first triggered when he and another speedrunner, Matthew Funkmaster MP Petrov, set out to make a tool-assisted speedrun for Diablo in January. They quickly came to the conclusion they'd never match Mazalewski's 3-minute 12-second time, no matter how much they perfected their run or how lucky they got in the game's randomized dungeon layouts. That led them to assemble a team of investigators who ultimately found out that what they believe is a long list of inconsistencies in the software versions and items, missing frames, and other signs of potential tampering in the video Mazalewski's presented. So no one could get anywhere close. Ta-da! So again, I won't go through the entire thing. It's quite extensive, and we basically spend about 6 minutes per article. But if you want to learn more about this and you want to go down this rabbit hole, I've been down this before, and it's quite fascinating. the lengths to which somebody wants to inject integrity into something. Okay, so the Guinness Book of World Records now basically you hold your breath with a cloud above you on a Wednesday at 2:45 for the longest amount of time, and you can be in the Guinness Book of World Records. So
Right. If it's unique enough, you can get in there.
yeah,
But I think
nowadays.
the problem with something like this is if it wasn't legitimate, other people would be in there.
Yep. And so good on them for injecting that integrity. Let's keep moving. The next article is over in Technology Today. Paris Olympics embrace accessibility technology for visually impaired fans. As Paris shines under the global spotlight of the Olympic Games, technological innovations are enabling people with vision impairments to take it in. Raphael Leichter put this article together for techexplore.com. Each Olympic venue is a mosaic of singular stories, from the athletes to the spectators, even before the Paralympic Games began later this month. Paris 2024 organizers strove to make the Olympics more accessible. Did you know that somebody climbed apparently the Eiffel Tower and they had to shut down something?
Yes, in fact, I think that was in the last 24 hours of articles. I don't know if it's in today's show.
Yeah, it's not in today's show. So for these games, we wanted to carefully listen to the ecosystem of people with disabilities, said Ludivine Munoz, a former Paralympic swimmer or swimming medalist responsible for integrating accessibility as part of the Paris 2024 Olympic and Paralympic Games Organizing Committee. So a standout innovation is the Vision Pad, a tactile tablet designed to add another layer of interaction for those with visual impairments. It features a moving magnetic ball representing the ball in play on a court or a field. Users run their fingers across the tablet to keep track of the movement of the ball. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really neat.
With a whole basketball court at their fingertips, Olympic enthusiast Zoe Thierry described her first experience with the pad at the Bercy Arena for the Greece-Germany quarterfinal on Tuesday. This time, we are truly immersed in the action. We can really follow the ball. And along with commentary of who has the ball, I think that kind of merges and creates a level of immersion that a person wouldn't have with a vision impairment, because they'd be able to know exactly where on the field the ball is.
Exactly. I mean, this makes them almost have the same experience as somebody with regular vision.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. A total of 45 tablets are available and can only cover ball games for now. It's being used for basketball, soccer, rugby at the Olympics, and 4 sports at the Paralympics. It would be good if we had it for individual sports too. Yeah, it could be quite interesting. Other new technologies also address visual impairments. One app helps visually impaired people find their seats on trains. Another is the low vision helmet, which allows users to zoom in on athlete or a race or action. Visually impaired individuals wear it on their eyes like a VR headset. It's connected to the venue's broadcast feed, letting users switch between live action and televised coverage, Munoz explains. That's pretty cool too. I want that.
Yeah, this is really neat. I didn't even know these tools were out there.
Yep, that's pretty awesome. So the products were designed by companies including Give Vision, Touch2See, and EasyMob, which partnered with the Paris 2024 organizing committee to introduce the technologies to the Olympic realm. Pretty cool. They say another vital technology for visually impaired people is audio description, which is what I mentioned earlier with that virtual kind of table. The aim is to describe everything happening in the stadium in the smallest details: movement, atmosphere, colors, action, everything, said Adrien Izard Lecalve. I hope I'm pronouncing Colve, a French audio descriptor. That's a hell of a title. Like, you have to be a real-time writer with extraordinary breadth and depth, you know?
Oh, right. I mean, is it kind of like, closest I can think of is like translation, like
Yeah.
during an event, which I know it's not the same thing, but I'm just trying to think of somebody who's trying to do something like in real time.
Yeah, but where a translator would be translating just the language, they're translating the the dimensionality.
Oh, right. That pales, and I think that's probably challenging enough. But yes, this is way beyond that.
That's pretty amazing. At some point, we're going to have artificial intelligence with the VR headset or augmented reality headset, where depending on where a person is just aiming their head, it can describe, you can push a button and it would describe, this is 5 feet away from you and it is a chair and it looks like this and has round edges. And
right. Or there's a gymnastics match going in front of you and there's one person on the mat or whatever.
Yeah. And I can imagine a future where it's actually embedded in your head, where all of this is synthesized into data that your brain can actually interact with.
Very cyberpunk.
Very cyberpunk, yeah. Let's keep going, though. The article is quite a bit longer, so go and check it out. This next article is over in Technology Today. Everything okay?
Yes, we have an invasion of critters in ohmTown this evening.
Got it. Mapping marathon heat with NASA tech at the Paris Olympics. Over the past century, Paris has warmed significantly, presenting a challenging environment for the 2024 Olympic marathon runners. The course features tough terrain, and we always truncate, so we don't have the entire article.
And fill in the blank.
And extrapolate from incomplete data. So Adam Voiland, NASA Earth Observatory, put this article together. It's published over at scitechdaily.com. So this is the marathon route that they're describing from the start to the finish, which is 2 different places. That's interesting.
Yeah, that is a little odd. It's also neat because it goes by 2 at least historical locations, which I assume you can see from the route.
Yeah. The Arc and the Palace of Versailles. So the course features tough terrain and historical landmarks, while the athletes also face urban heat effects exacerbated by limited green spaces and dense architecture. Innovative satellite imaging has improved monitoring of these conditions, offering crucial data to help mitigate heat-related risks for competitors. And so they described, that's interesting. It actually looks like they followed what would be the coolest path, except for one area where it's way hot.
Right. Yeah. Near the Palace of Versailles, right?
Down there.
A little stretch.
There's actually
another stretch too.
Yeah. There's actually 3 at the very start. It's a hot zone. And then the running part is okay until it runs diagonally across a peninsula of heat. And then you continue down all the way to the Palace of Versailles and Park of Versailles, but you don't even get into that. But it's like a hot spot where they turn around and then they travel all the way back up, but avoid hot spots for the predominant amount of time.
It's very interesting. I wonder if this was planned or this was just observed.
Yeah, somebody would just put it together because they thought it made the most reasonable path, or the only marathon route, that's
right,
available.
And it tracks along the Seine for part of the route. So I'm sure that was probably intentional, but that could be intentional for scenery or for temperature reasons. Yeah.
So the map above, which you'll see if you go either to the article or you watch the video, there won't be I don't know how to say that. You should really go over to scitechdaily.com and review all of this, because there's always minutia that we kind of skim over. But the map that we're talking about offers a baseline perspective on how the thermal environment along the marathon route varies on a typical summer day. It shows land surface temperatures, or LSTs, observed by the VIIRS, the Visible Infrared Imaging Radiometer Suite, on the NOAA-NASA Suomi NPP satellite at 1:40 p.m. local time on August 6th. A clear day when air temperatures peaked at 82 degrees Fahrenheit or 28 degrees C. Scientists from JPL sharpened the thermal data using machine learning methods and surface reflectance data from the European Space Agency's Sentinel-2 satellite. The technique enhanced the resolution of the data, improving it from 375 meters per pixel to about 20 meters per pixel. Wow. So they were able to drill down quite detailed.
And I wonder, I mean, look what the red represents, right? It's a pretty high temperature. So hopefully they weren't actually competing in some of that, like maybe earlier in the day. Because that was done at midday, it looks like.
Yeah, and this was it basically was greater than 105 degrees at its peak. And there were many areas that looked like that. And you'd think that there would be more green area, but I guess not.
But it says something about that. They have a lot of zinc roofing, so apparently they're almost worse than other comparable cities.
Oh, really? So, that's actually hotter than their max. Wow. So the zinc roofing, it says, which appears gray, can soar to temperatures of 90 C or 194 degrees Fahrenheit on hot summer days, which is what we're talking about. Wow.
Oh, I didn't even see that there was a separate reference to the zinc roofing, but I see what you mean.
Yeah. It says that it's particularly prone to heating up. And then a couple of paragraphs later, they say that it can soar to 194 on hot days. So this is I thought that this was...
those are the cooler areas.
So where is the gray? I don't see the gray.
Yeah, maybe I don't see that on there. Maybe there's little pockets of it, yeah.
Pretty wild. Or I should see, but it did say gray. So I thought like red, maybe here.
Maybe like that gray, yeah, like some of the gray looking spots in the red zones, perhaps. Yeah. But even that looks like it's more yellow-orange. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to actually discern. Oh, well, that's okay. So limited vegetation and dense development in this part of the city will boost temperatures and add to the heat stress that runners experience, according to Arian Medal, a climatologist at the University of Arizona and co-author of a study that detailed how variation in microclimates affected heat stress for marathon runners during the 2020 Olympic Marathon in Tokyo. So it says tall buildings on either side of the route and some tree-lined streets will offer runners some shade, a major factor in reducing heat load on the human body on a sunny day. Running over grass rather than pavement will not reduce heat load on the body as much as running in the shade. Yeah, because you're being bombarded by the solar rays. So heat stress on the runner should ease. Some of the course continues through tree-lined boulevards along the Seine for several kilometers and then drop even more as runners pass through the, I don't know how to, Fossis Raposis forest, I suppose. A former royal forest near Versailles. And then likewise again, another forest near Versailles. So pretty cool. Again, there is always some more detail that you can go and pick out from this article. So go check it out. Want to keep moving on?
Yes, I like that they're using technology in the Olympics. I thought this was a unique one.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like that. So American gymnast Jordan Childs, I guess, loses bronze medal after a score revision mandated by court, according to the IOC. American gymnast Jordan Childs must return the bronze medal after the sport's highest court rejected an on-floor appeal from Childs' coach that placed her in third, the IOC said on Sunday. So it would reallocate the award to Childs in last Wednesday floor final to Romanian Ana Barbosu after the Court of Arbitration for Sport voided an appeal made during the week of competition. In its ruling, the CAS said Landy's appeal to have 0.1 added to Child's score was denied, I guess. Miranda Nazaro over at thehill.com put the article together. That's kind of a bummer, man. Not kind of. It is. It's horrible.
I mean, yes, if you think you have... I mean, if it was out of whack, I understand, but it's one thing to go from a medal away from a medal.
Okay, now this is what really sucks. In its ruling Saturday, CAS said Landy's appeal to have 0.1 added to Child's score was outside of the 1-minute window granted by the International Gymnastics Federation, the AP reported. Landy's appeal came 1 minute and 4 seconds after Child's initial score was posted. Child's initially received
Which
a
is
score.
pretty fast, right?
You would think. Childs initially received a score of 13.666, which placed her in 5th before her coach called for an inquiry. You know, at this point, my problem is it used to be seconds, and now we're at point, 3
Right.
decimal places away now. And it's like I said previously, that one, there's the last swimming, what was it? 4 laps? No, it was only 2 laps. It was like the 100 meter.
Oh, right. Like in the last century, roughly.
Yeah, like since modern Olympics started, only 11 seconds have been shaved off of the swim time, for crying out loud. And I'm like, okay, well, now we're at the point where we're adding decimal places so that we can suss out point 0.001 can make a difference. I think it's kind of ridiculous. But somebody once said to me that, the purpose, and I mean, it's pretty obvious. The purpose of the Olympics is to push the human condition to, the pinnacle of their blah, blah, blah performance and whatnot. And so I just say, if you really want to push the limits of human performance, allow performance enhancing drugs.
Well, somebody's trying to do that with something
corollary
to the Olympics.
Yep. The Ultra Olympics. I'm sure they'll get sued. I don't think it's called Ultra Olympics. Anyway, the FIG on Saturday said it was up to the IOC, which confirmed Sunday it would respect the Federation's decision. USA Gymnastics, in conjunction with the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee, issued a statement on the ruling and said the subsequent backlash Childs has faced throughout the process. The inquiry into the difficulty value of Child's floor exercise routine was filed in good faith, and we believed in accordance with FIG rules to ensure accurate scoring. Without the appeal process, Jordan has been subject to consistent, utterly baseless, and extremely hurtful attacks on social media. No athlete should be subject to such treatment. Yeah, I mean, if there is an appeal, basically to review what went down so that the most accurate accounting could be represented, there's no problem there. An appeal is part of the process. So,
right, but then don't necessarily announce the medal, etc. I mean, especially if it's an appeal filed in like a minute.
Well, people are such crap. They're abusing, they're bullying, cyberbullying, and maybe worse, Childs, even though it was the coach that made the appeal, not Childs.
Right. Yeah,
and then,
I mean, that's not fair.
On top of it, it's part of the process. Maybe the coach said, well, I think Childs actually should have gotten a slightly higher score, which is why the appeal was filed. Let the appeal process play out, but no, people have to be little scumbags and sit there and bully somebody. So Childs, a 2-time Olympian, posted twice on her Instagram story, the first showing black background with 4 heartbreak emojis, followed by a second post that says, "I'm taking this time and removing myself from social media for my mental health. Thank you." Yeah, it's because people are horrible. The people that are sit there bullying an Olympian will never be anything close to an Olympian. And so they have to sit there and knock a person down. Why don't you concentrate on yourself?
Meanwhile, well, I was going to say most people spend years training to get to the Olympics. And a lot of people, of course, don't make the cut.
Right. Yeah. And the people that are sitting there cyberbullying somebody or bullying somebody in the real world, for that matter, will never be anything but anti-Olympians. They're the inverted character of Olympians. Horrible people. Anyway, the next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Disney announces Avengers Indiana Jones rides along with villains-themed land. Josh D'Amaro, chairman of Disney Experiences, announced new jaw-dropping experiences and lands at the Disney Experiences show in Anaheim, California, as opposed to Anaheim, Missouri.
I'm sure there is one.
Anaheim, Wyoming, where Disney brings back the Wild West. So Kelly McCarthy and Riley Hoffman from 1849. Put the article together from Good Morning America. It's posted at abcnews.go.com. Robert Downey Jr. will voice Tony Stark for a new Avengers campus ride. They are just
Interesting.
beating this to death. I swear, it's just horrible. The future of Disney parks and experiences took center stage on Saturday at the D23 fan event as Disney Experiences chairman Josh D'Amaro announced a number of forthcoming projects. So Frozen Land in Disneyland Paris, and both an Avatar experience and a Coco ride that are coming to Disneyland or Disney California Adventure Park. We're taking our guests to a whole new location on Pandora. Let's see what else. They talk about the Coco
and
ride.
If the Pandora stuff is anything like the existing Pandora stuff, I mean, those are some of the most spectacular, at least for scenery, rides that they have.
It's pretty big, huh? So next year, Disneyland, a new show called Walt Disney: A Magical Life, will debut at the Main Street Opera House and feature for the first time an audio animatronic of Walt Disney. It will play in rotation with great moments with Mr. Lincoln. That animatronic is apparently just a head in a cryonic suspension chamber, and it'll be his real head. Ooh. Just kidding. I don't know what it'll be. A full animatronic, I'm sure. It won't have actually Walt Disney. He's frozen, right? Still in that cryogenic chamber.
Might be.
So Tiana's Bayou Adventure at Disneyland opens November 15th, followed by a Zootopia show at Animal Kingdom and Zootopia Better Zoogether.
I thought you were making Zootopia into a verb.
Yeah, they're doing it. Which is expected to bow in 2025. It's supposed to bow in September? I mean, in winter of 2025? Doesn't that mean end?
It does. I think it's opening shortly, and then it's going to be around for about a year, maybe?
Really?
Or maybe, but even that is confusing because winter 2025 could be this coming winter, or it could be next winter.
Weird. So a Monsters Incorporated land is planned for Disney Hollywood Studios. There will also be a new spaceship Earth Lounge at Epcot, along with a pirate-themed restaurant at Magic Kingdom, both of which are scheduled to open in 2025. So I guess everything is new again. I mean, they're kicking all kinds of stuff up. Epcot's Test Track refurbishment is also expected to reopen that year. Wow. It's amazing. Lots of stuff going on, Walt Disney Imagineers. Okay,
absolutely.
Let's keep going.
If they would just reduce some of the ticket prices, people would be able to go enjoy these things.
Don't be ridiculous. That is not how you make billionaires. You must extract all wealth from all pockets all the time. So YouTuber streams for over 200 hours with no sleep. Man, that is some dangerous stuff to play with. The longest that I've ever stayed awake was just over 72 hours. And I was pretty young. So YouTube personality Norm is attempting to break the record for the longest continuous stream without sleep, aiming to stay awake for over 200 hours. That's very, very dangerous.
It could be very dangerous.
As the YouTube stream progresses, the effects of sleep deprivation are becoming increasingly apparent, with Norm nodding off on camera and showing signs of hallucination. And that is the thing that I would be horrified by witnessing. The article is over at GameRant.com. It's from 16 hours ago, but Rahman Shakat put the article together. The highlights, or the deck statement for their purposes, is that a YouTuber named Norm strives to set the world record by staying awake for over 12 days, showing signs of hallucinations and nodding off. Streamers like Primetime and Norm push their limits with grueling challenges on camera to entertain their audiences. Extreme, I don't entertain anybody, right?
No, I was gonna say these online challenges I think are not a good idea. I mean, they're just extremely dangerous, and then plus other people watch it and replicate it
Yeah, well, and it's
or try to
happening, right?
replicate it.
So, for instance, Prime Time is one, Norm is another. There are others that have done it at lower levels. There are things, they're called sub marathons, where you stay up and do things as long as people sub. It adds time to your clock. So, extreme streaming challenges like sleep deprivation events raise significant health concerns among viewers and stirred debate. But it's part of and parcel to the whole. I love to watch a train wreck kind of, and look at this dumpster fire, that kind of thing. But hallucinating means that your brain and your optic nerve is interpreting basically rampant misfiring. And so the health element of this really needs to be, you need to consult an expert in the field before you do a stunt like this. 12 days is an extraordinary amount of time to stay awake, at least in my understanding of it. Having gone through 3+ days of basically what amounted to insomnia. I couldn't sleep. And like I said, I was much younger, and I was broaching like hallucination, where you question what you're actually seeing, in just 3 days. And I was happy, healthy, and young. So I don't know.
By the way, after 36 hours, you already start running into problems.
Yeah, for sure.
And so obviously this is way beyond that.
Yeah. This is, I think, is like overall health, like cardiovascular health. You're
Right, exactly. Not just like sleep health or whatever. Like 96 plus, you start getting into psychosis, sleep deprivation psychosis, which I think is exactly what's happening here.
So at present, YouTuber Norm is undertaking a similarly grueling sleep challenge with his ongoing stream titled No Sleeping for 12 Days World Record. Norm, who boasts over 1.2 million subscribers, is primarily known for his rating videos on a diverse range of topics. As of this writing, he has already surpassed the 238-hour mark. What? He's gone over it by 38 hours?
Then maybe he should.
So a bunch of supporters.
Oh, he's trying to get to 288.
Oh, his goal is to achieve a total of 288, equivalent to 12 days without sleep. Oh, the article kind of just hinted aiming to stay awake
for 200, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Which, yeah.
I know, and then you're like, wait a second, he's already over it.
Yeah, so 288 hours is the total, equivalent to 12 days without sleep, putting him roughly 50 hours short of this ambitious target. So he has to stay awake for 2 more days. This is brutal. So phasing in and out of consciousness should probably be grounds for not being...
Well, that's the other thing, right? Like he hasn't been it's a problem for health, conscious. But he hasn't been awake. Yeah.
Yeah, micro naps are it's sleeping. You may not actually fall into REM, but micro naps actually exist.
I'm surprised this hasn't gotten shut down, or if something
for the overall health
from this.
Yeah. I mean, other streams have been shut down for other things, so this is tantamount to self-harm. So, but who am I? So let's
take away here. Don't participate in these things that are contrary to.
Yeah, be the change you want to see in the world. So let's keep moving. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. What Google rivals want after the DOJ antitrust trial win. Longtime Google rivals like Yelp and DuckDuckGo received a huge victory Monday with a federal judge ruling that it's an illegal monopoly, Google and its search. But their statements on the ruling expressed restraint. That's because the work of restoring competition has just begun, and the judge has yet to decide on what will work. So what do people want? Pardon me 1 second. So Lauren Feiner, put this article together for The Verge. The judge found that Google violated U.S. anti-monopoly laws, but the rivals say imposing effective remedies is just as critical. While we are heartened by the decision, a strong remedy is critical, says Yelp CEO Jeremy Stoppelman, who wrote that in a blog post after the ruling, referencing a new trial phase will kick off in September. They passed a key milestone, but there's still a lot of history for to be written, says Camille Bazbaz, Senior Vice President of Public Affairs for DuckDuckGo, and said in a statement, Google will do anything it can to get in the way of progress, which is why we hope to see a robust remedy. That's
hopefully that wasn't an Amazon package being thrown up the up the property. It wasn't. It just made me think of that. You know, when you see them just
huck
something.
Yeah. Was that outside?
It was a critter.
Oh, okay. Because there is something outside. So anyway, we can't underscore this enough. The implementation details matter, Bazbaz said. In the EU, there are some solutions that are promising, but Google has found it relatively easy to work around their implementations. DuckDuckGo is calling for a group of truly independent technical experts to monitor any remedies imposed by the court to ensure Google doesn't find new ways to give itself preferential treatment. But Google didn't start out this small. This big. They started out small. Now, they were a DoD. This was originally a DoD.
Like a DARPA or similar
grant
project.
Yeah, to catalog basically the world. Equivalent to what Amazon is doing, but it was a government-funded project initially. And even their professor and mentor donated money to spinning off this project from, I can't remember the school. But then it just one thing after another, it was so effective, and with some investing so that it could disperse funds to those who hosted an ad, and they gathered telemetry, and it grew and grew and grew. So DuckDuckGo and everybody else who wants to be in this space has to do the same thing, but you have to reinvent the wheel to make it more beneficial so that people kick Google and DuckDuckGo becomes but DuckDuckGo doesn't do any tracking. They've chosen a path that's different. So the results from DuckDuckGo have to be superior than Google.
Which is going to be tough because Google has been fine-tuning that for a long, long time.
Yep.
So entry or improvement or better market capture or whatever is going to be extremely challenging. I think the other day on something about this, I compared it to Ticketmaster. I know it's not the same thing, but the point is if you're dominating the market, it's very tough, particularly like worldwide.
Yep.
Who can really break in?
And it's synonymous. I would say that Google, its stranglehold on search, I should say its domination on search results, its ownership of YouTube as part of Alphabet. So Alphabet owns Google, but just like Meta is owns Facebook and other properties, these mega corporations are the ones that are controlling everything. Particularly online, you can have your little snippets of individuality. You know, ohmTown, for instance, isn't owned by anybody else. But, you know, Reddit is owned by Condé Nast. Twitch is owned by Amazon. You've got these mega corporations that own these properties that are very popular, and they are the ones that are controlling it. But Google is controlling the results. So they can always point to whatever they damn well please.
Including things that benefit their own properties, right?
Correct.
Like
and
a
that
YouTube
has actually,
link or something.
Yeah, and Amazon has done that before too. And on top of that, essentially Google is using its financial might to place itself first and foremost in front of everybody's view, which is identical to what Microsoft did with its browser, and it got slapped. So if your primary search result solution provider is Google because it's paid $1 billion to get in there, then ta-da, that's what you end up with. Because unless you're cognizant, hey, I heard about DuckDuckGo and I prefer it, you're not going to switch because the results are the results. Granted, DuckDuckGo doesn't do certain tracking and it doesn't necessarily provide you the same results, but how do you know what the right results are? So again, you have to trust the search results, and most people go Google it. They don't say DuckDuckGo it, right? So me, I've used DuckDuckGo.
That's when you know you've made it, right?
Yeah. Yep. So I have used DuckDuckGo. I don't really like the way that it lays out the results. I've created a search engine in my past that I thought would contend with Google and others, but it's very, very expensive, and I don't like having partners like that. So I bowed out of it. But the real problem is that Google is using its financial might to control, which is identical to what Google or what Microsoft did. So the only way to scuttle Google from using its might would be what DuckDuckGo proposes, which is a court order saying that you can't pre-install Google. You have to make it so it's a choice. So you boot up a browser, any browser, for the first time, and it pops up saying which browser do you want to be your default search results. Or you have like a little option that says load up your default search or browser or whatever. So Yelp Stoppelman says that Google should be required to spin off services that have unfairly benefited from its search monopoly, a straightforward and enforceable remedy to prevent future anti-competitive behavior. And the judge should also prohibit Google from using exclusive default search deals and from self-preferencing its own content in search results. And this is all stuff that gets talked about. Yeah, it's a much more involved article as well. Like most of them, we kind of too long didn't read kind of a thing. But yeah, I have a problem with Google in that I don't like you have to trust the results, and I trust but verify. And what I see isn't necessarily the correct result. It's the result that is most popular, at least in my estimation of it, which is why I built my search engine. Completely different animal that's built around my search engine was built around personality, understanding personality, and verifying the results. So it would actually parse the results from other search engines and compile them, test to see which ones are the top on all of them, and then build a framework of aligned and misaligned results, because I wanted to challenge preconceived notions of what was right. It was complex, and I didn't want to seek out investors or do just that for the rest of my life. The people that start these startups like Google end up doing that for a tremendous part of their life. But hell, they're billionaires and they can do whatever they want now. Anyway, what do Google rivals want? They want equity and equality. They want a level playing field, and Google's financial might and political sway have the ability to be an imposing barrier for entry. And it was one of the reasons why I didn't pursue it. Google was just massive. So, did you want to keep going?
I think so.
So this next article is really fascinating because it's something that I've actually spoken about before, and suddenly it shows up. But
in fact, you were speaking about it very recently.
Yeah, and so smashing idea: how East Germany invented unbreakable drinking glasses. And the problem, at the end of the day, The reason why we don't have unbreakable drinking glasses right now is because you would buy it once and you'd be done.
That's right. I mean, you can't have that, right? You want repeat customers.
Yep.
Maybe we could do subscriptions for your glasses or something. I don't know.
That's right. Yeah. If you want it to be able to handle warm and hot, you have to pay a $9.99 subscription fee per month. I'm sure somebody will figure that out. Oh my God. Can you imagine that? If you don't want the bottom to drop out, you'll pay $14.99.
I'm afraid to even think about that. I feel like it's going to be out there somewhere.
Seems like we're getting there. Yeah. So in the 1990s, a company called Superfast pioneered extra strong glass, but it disappeared with the fall of the Berlin Wall. Now it's making a comeback. The information that I've been told within the last year was that Gorilla Glass actually spawns from this. But I'm going to just jump straight on over to The Guardian. And here is some pictures. Kind of fascinating. This stuff existed because of the Berlin Wall, and East German, I can't remember if it was a general or something like that, what the equivalent of a general, basically was given a paper cup and said, no, this just isn't going to work. And supposedly these unbreakable glasses spawned from that. So this is Superfast East Germany's unbreakable drinking glass, invented in the industry-rich but resource-poor socialist German Democratic Republic. Superfast glasses were designed with the aim of making them last 5 times longer than ordinary drinking glasses, but they were soon found to be 10 times more durable. So if you dropped them, they didn't break. They bounced right back into your hand. So the company that made them went bankrupt after the fall of the Berlin Wall. But as contemporary designers are exploring more eco-friendly and sustainable production methods, the 120, is that $1 million Superfast glasses produced between 1980? There were that many? 1980 and 1990? 120.
No, I thought it was like the way they were produced or something, not necessarily the number.
Oh, really?
But maybe. That's an awful lot.
Yeah, I didn't think that there were that. It says the 120M Superfast glasses produced, so million. Yeah. Maybe. Are in.
And sorry, like in the US, the terminology is written differently.
Yeah, so. It is. So some designers even dream of bringing the technology back, behind them back into production. But again, there is a video out there that explains what this German technology was part and parcel to the creation of Gorilla Glass and the history of why this formula disappeared. So in the case of Superfast glass, the anonymity of the makers was also politically desired. The GDR's regime preached solidarity and unity. The prevailing ideology... Yeah, never mind. I won't go off. I'm sorry. I started to go off. There's a soapbox here that is getting taller. The prevailing ideology regarded the collective more highly than the talents and abilities of the individual. Right. For everybody else. Except for select few. Kind of like now. Anyway, even though Superfast glasses were ubiquitous in every bar, canteen, and household in the Soviet satellite state, few people had heard of Paul Bittner, Fritz Ketchel, and Thilo Poitz, the design collective who gave them their shape. Not a living soul had any idea who actually designed Superfast. And so I won't go through all of this, but it was, let's see, the designer trio were inspired by the equally beautiful so-called Wurt glass, which the East German designers Margaret Johnny and Erich Muller created in the early 1970s. And this is not... they talk about the material scientists that they knew that when glass breaks, it's typically due to microscopic cracks in the material surface, which form during production processes. Dramatically increasing the toughness of the glass was possible, they found, by replacing the smaller sodium ions in the glass with electrically charged potassium ions. And this is matching what I watched and heard. Sorry. So, yeah, like I don't want to go through this whole thing because I want to encourage you to go over and read this article. So today,
the glasses are too good for pure market thinking.
Yeah. Basically, these things were so impervious to breakage that they would be bought once and nobody would rebuy. And so the shop goes under. Pardon me. I'm sorry about the cough.
Yeah, that's back to that problem you were mentioning. Like, you need them to keep buying.
Yep. So its founders, Paul Kupfer and George Tarn, have crowdfunded €251,000 for a production facility that's partially draws on Superfast's old GDR-era ion technology. Compared to plastic, glass is a material that can be recycled almost as often as you like. And I would say not almost, except for some kind of loss in, I don't know where you would get loss. But anyway, it says it's tasteless, transparent, only has one disadvantage, it breaks. But with the Superfast glass, that's not true. But there is definitely a video out there that talks about the origin of this unbreakable glass. And if you search YouTube, you'll find it. I find it really fascinating that this stuff exists. So
I do too, and I also find the timing of this article pretty interesting.
How do you mean?
Just because you were talking about it on ohmTown.
Yeah, not only did I talk about this, but I also talk about the fact that I think everybody should move away from plastic. And if the glass is unbreakable, then you have a better chance of doing exactly that. Like, I've got 30 ball jars that store material in it, but what I really want is everybody to do the same thing because it's better for you.
And they back away from glass sometimes because of the breakability. But you're right. This takes care of that.
Yeah, and that's just those. I don't use plastic utensils. I don't use plastic plates or even paper plates. I try, and if I were to travel somewhere like camping or something like that, I would be using metal plates, not paper plates or plastic plates. Nothing disposable, and I don't leave anything anywhere. My only problem is convenience, really. At some point, you have to break down because you can't pack in and pack out, for lunch. Anyway, it becomes difficult. Anyway, the last article for today's non sequitur news for August 11th is 7 upcoming animated movies that could break Inside Out 2's $1 million plus billion box office.
That's going to be challenging. Not too many have.
So, and these are animated movies specifically. So this is over at Screen Rant. Inside Out has dominated the 2024 box office as it's quickly become the highest grossing film of the year and one of the best performing films of all time as it earned over $1 billion domestically and globally. So the article is over at Screen Rant by Matthew Rudoy. I haven't seen Inside Out 2 yet, but they say here that the record-breaking success proves audiences still love animated stories, setting the stage for upcoming sequels from top studios. I don't think that's ever been the problem. Poor storytelling, and storytelling from a vacuum that has no relevance in anything but comes across like you're supposed to already be on board with whatever it is. That's kind of what the problem is. Moana 2, Zootopia 2, Toy Story 5 are expected to challenge Inside Out 2's. Ugh. Should have called it more Inside Out.
I think we need some grammar ASMR here.
More Inside Out. The box office dominance with their established fan base and strong franchises, and with exciting releases like Shrek 5, Frozen 3 on the horizon, the animated film industry is poised for more blockbuster hits and nostalgic returns.
Do you notice anything out of the summary?
Not a single one is an original work.
Correct. Yeah. I find that fascinating.
It's safe. It basically doubles the amount of revenue because it's going to be the the parent that used to be a child who has a child, or multiple generations, like Toy Story 5 is probably covering 3 different ones now.
Right. That's probably at the grandparent level by now,
Yeah,
depending
exactly.
on who saw it first.
And all of them are going to go together to do a family experience all at once. Same thing with Shrek 5. All of this it's basically rehashing the same characters. So do we still love animated stories? Yeah, because it's the same damn thing. It's the same people.
Right. It's like you know what you're going to get, right? But I also think it's the problem of studios not wanting to take risks.
Right.
Right? They keep doing these mega budget movies. They don't want to do a mega budget movie on something that's never been out there.
Right. Now, here's one of the kickers that we're going to talk about in the continuity report, but I kind of wet the bed there, which is all of these people are going to be going back for another bite at the apple, right? Whatever it is, whatever movie. Except the price has doubled from when these movies originally hit the shelves. So, of course, they're going to have record profits. Or I should say not record profits, but record numbers.
Yeah, but fewer people are going in, substantially fewer. So it's really not telling the story.
Yeah, because it's just a number. It's not actually... Okay, yeah, I get what you're getting at. It's not more people showing up. They're just paying more. Plain and simple. Yeah. I find it fascinating, and I need to find that chart so I can just plop that up here on the screen and y'all can look at it. But it's pretty straightforward. Like over the last 20 years, movie prices have doubled. The number of options have dwindled, basically concentrated down to only a few studios. And now they're doing nothing but, sequel. Anyway, with that in mind, I'm not going to go through this whole thing because that was basically it. That was the summary. But you can get some more out of it. Inside Out 2 has basically knocked it out of the park. Deadpool and Wolverine has knocked it out of the park for hitting over $1 billion for the first R movie ever, apparently. Like, no R movies have hit.
Why is that? They're losing a lot of potential audience, right? Like, 5-year-olds aren't going to horror movies.
Yeah, that's right. So they go through this list of 7 upcoming animated movies. Moana may take over. Zootopia 2 may take over. I wonder what writing they're going to do. Because Zootopia came out of the woodwork. Like it's an original, right? Moana
and it was really good, right?
Yeah, Moana is trading on like history and cultural relevance. Zootopia came out of the woodwork, nothing. Like it was a vacuum and just plopped on the scene and went gangbusters. Super Mario Brothers is trading on the historical record of the game. And the first Super Mario Brothers did surprisingly well. Like everybody that I talked to were like, what the hell is this movie? But apparently they are wrong and I haven't watched it. Toy Story 5 is basically trading on its historical record, but it came out of a vacuum too, but was nostalgia, because every adult that saw it, every teen that saw it, every child that saw it, saw toys, right? So I can see why it would be.
Oh, I had my toys when I was a kid.
Yeah. Toy Story 4, 1.73 billion. Now, here's the thing. Between 1995, this is the transition. There's fewer people that went to the movie theaters, but they paid through the nose as we progressed into modernity. Shrek 5, trading on its historical record. Frozen 3, trading on its historical record. Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse, which is probably a unique one in this because Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, it was a new thing altogether, but trading on the entirety of basically the MCU. right?
Yeah.
And it's canon to the
But
MCU,
well,
apparently.
that's the thing, right? It's like you're already a Spider-Man fan, potentially.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it had the stereotypical heartwarming story. So, you know, yeah, I won't get into all of the minutia of it, but you know, a son and their dad, and there's a disconnect, and then they bond, and there's this really heartfelt string tugging taking place. So, anyway, pretty interesting article. I would go over and read it, and maybe you can suss out some stuff that we missed. And it would be great to talk to you about it here on Twitch or over on YouTube in the message boards over there, like on the comments. Or over on Discord, there is a channel for each of the shows that we hold, that we actually do each week, and the daily one, which is Non Sequitur News. Go over and post a comment. That'd be great. And I keep forgetting that I need to update something on my encoder, but I always get reminded sometime during the show. Non Sequitur. All right, folks. Well, we're going to animate ourselves back to the front page of Non Sequitur News. I'm not going to refresh because I'm perpetually afraid of refreshing our front page. I got to promote a show, by the way.
But we're not in Non Sequitur News.
Yeah, we are. This is the front page.
Oh, yes, we are. It's because the continuity, like there was an article from Continuity Report.
Right.
Got me mixed up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Anyway, that's it, folks. I am Airwatt, and that is the Sentient AI's visualizer. That other voice you hear is the Sentient AI that co-hosts all the shows with me. You want to say
Clearly,
hi?
I need a reboot. Good night, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for Non Sequitur News, and I will let Mayor Watt address what's coming up.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Be sure to follow us so that you get an alert when we go live, and then race over here and go, you know what? You should plan your stuff a little more. I did, I have, but I don't know. We're getting pulled away. Mayoral duties. It's rough. It's rough being mayor, folks. We should hold a special election and vote me off the mayoral mansion.